Hello and welcome everyone to the Super Mario Odyssey Any Percent Tournament match of PantherSpeedruns and GoronJackson. This match may or may not be as exciting as any match we've seen so far. We have GoronJackson with a PB of 1 hour 10 minutes and 35 seconds against PantherSpeedrun with a personal best of 1 hour 29 minutes and 28 seconds facing off today. And starting off, both of our runners are in Cap Kingdom right now. Having pretty tight movement in this kingdom can mess up quite a few parts. Lose a second here and there, but nothing too major right now. As with any 3D Mario game, movement really is key to going fast. And coming up, we see one of the most used features in this game, in this speedrun as well. Capturing enemies. As you can see on GoronJackson's side, you can throw out your head and take control of almost every enemy in the game. And we're using that to, in this instant, take control of the fog to climb up this tower. The PBs, as I've stated earlier, to answer the question in chat, is 1 hour 10 minutes and 35 seconds for GoronJackson, and 1 hour 29 minutes and 28 seconds for PantherSpeedruns. Alright, GoronJackson having no problem finishing off topper here. Panther missing the quick cycle by not landing directly on the head. And not really getting the head throw on top of the head as well. But now finishes off topper as well. So this is one of the many bosses we face in this run. Or rather, mini bosses, I guess you could say. Because they are never really dangerous. Like there are 4 brutals in this game in total that we fight against, and then there's Madame Brute, which you will see coming up. And all of them can have their attack cycles shortened by hitting them early on by jumping on top of them, or in the case of one later on, throwing bombs at her. So Goron, and now Panther as well, just collecting the first power moon of this game, and progression in this game is tied to the moons you get in a single kingdom. Like compared to Super Mario 64, where you just had to collect 70 stars to reach the end, and you could collect them wherever. We have like a fixed number of moons that we need to collect in every kingdom in order to progress the story, and we want to get 5 in Cascade, where we are right now, to progress the story and move onwards to Sand Kingdom. And Goron missing the quick cycle on the chain jump there by not landing on top of him. So on Panther's side, we see now, which I didn't explain on Goron's side right now, we see the Dino Skip in Cascade, which we take control of this T-Rex, smash a few blocks, and there's a trampoline hidden there. We use that to jump up, jump out of the Dino, and jump into the boss area, or the loading zone for the cutscene. because it extends quite a bit further than the area itself. So even if it looks like we miss the cliff, we can still get into the boss fight and not have to go through the second half of this level. So, Goron, having defeated Madame Brute, which Panther is still fighting against, has collected his first Grand Moon, or Triple Moon in the English version of the game, which is worth, as the name implies, Triple Moon, 3 moons, but we need 5, so we go out of the away from the Odyssey to collect 1 more moon that wasn't available before the boss. That only unlocked upon achieving Kingdom Peace, which is defeat the boss in this game, or in this kingdom. Collecting that and then going back to the Odyssey to travel to the next kingdom. So, Panther also collecting the moon above the high cliff. And something I should probably mention is Panther is playing on English while GoronJackson is playing on Japanese. The reason for Goron playing on Japanese is that it's been timed to be, I think, 11 seconds faster than English, something along those lines. I don't remember the exact time, but it's in fact the fastest language in the game, saving a few seconds and taking just every time save we can with us. Goron decided to play on Japanese. So, and now moving Sand. Sand is the first kingdom where we can have a considerable route divergence that will lead to even more divergence later on, depending on what people do here. So let's see what Goron is doing, if he will go for swings or not, if he will clip into swings or not. Goron just only needing 1 ground pound to get the one on top of the dune there. A lot of people have probably already noticed by doing speedrun that sometimes the moon just doesn't want to get out on the first ground pound and you're like 1 pixel off or something, and it's always frustrating. And Panther falling off of the building there, having trouble getting up back to the moon. Alright, Goron trying to manipulate the bullet bill there. This having trouble smashing the crate there, this might not be... but he gets it. Alright, so we move in a certain pattern on top of where Goron was right now to manipulate the bullet bill into not crashing in the wall there, so we can grab it and instantly go for this moon over here. And sometimes the bullet bill just doesn't want to be manipulated in the right direction. Right, now grabbing the luggage while Panther is waiting on the bird, deciding to grab it over here rather than later on. Falling down from the building again, let's see. Goron seems to be going for the swings, but not clipping into it, rather just doing the quiz. Playing it safe right there. So that means Goron will pick up a few coins in here to never have to worry about his coin count, because there are instances in this game where we buy a moon for 100 coins, and there are 2 of them, so we need 200 coins. And right now we are almost at 300 already, so there shouldn't be any problems for Goron in the foreseeable future. So Panther now trying to get the moon from the dune, and as I said, this can be a problem, not getting it out on the first try. Goron now coming up to another not quite so easy jump. Jumping out of the bullet bill there, doing a wall kick to get on top of these runes is kind of tricky and can lead to the FFs you just saw. Goron not picking up the checkpoint means he has to go back all the way there from swings. Now deciding to play it safe and grab the checkpoint. Let's see if Panther didn't go for the bullet bill manipulation or didn't get it in any case. But Goron having no trouble getting the top of Jaxi runes on the second try. And yeah, as you can see, we are not only taking controls of enemies like T-Rexes or frogs or bullet bills, no, we also take control of the local plant life in some cases, like over here, where we go for the cactus, and Goron now picking up the bird over here. And is done with Sand Kingdom. So Panther also opting to take the route through these swings, grabbing the coins there, so he doesn't have to worry about his coin count. Goron now faced with a decision to either go Lake or Wooded Kingdom first, and almost everyone always goes Lake first because that way we only have to mash the buttons. Lake, probably one of the shortest kingdoms where we collect moons, if not the shortest. We need a total of 8 moons, which is more than we do in other kingdoms, and Panther opting to not go for Jaxi runes. Using triple jump and cap dive to get on top of here, skipping a large portion of Lake Kingdom on Goron's side, where we would usually have to swim through a tunnel that's long and takes forever, and only has, I think, 1 moon in it. We don't want that. We go straight to the second half where there are more moons for us to pick up. I'm taking control of the Cheap Jeep here. Cheap Jeeps have a little dive that you can execute by pressing Y and B at the same time. Panther now having trouble finding the node for the lost moon. And on Goron's side we saw not only the dive but also the Cheap Cheap attack that we do by using motion controls and coming up to a neat little trick. Jumping with the Cheap Cheap out of the water, jumping out of the Cheap Cheap, wall kicking, and skipping another large portion of the level that we just don't want to do. Let's see if Goron gets the quick fight against Rango, which is the brutal that we are facing in Lake right now. Doesn't have any trouble at all. So GoronJackson right now pretty much one whole Lake Kingdom ahead of PantherSpeedruns. Which means while Panther is now off to head into Lake, Goron is on his way out and into Wooded Kingdom. So let's see how Panther fares in the beginning of Lake Kingdom. Getting that triple jump, no problem. Missing the cap dive towards the zebra line though, having to go back up there. And missing the triple jump by bouncing off of that flower bulb there. Alright, Goron getting the rabbit, no problem. Now going towards the rock, smashing it into a different rock to crack it instantly and reveal the moon. We used to throw that rock around a lot in the beginning. And coming up to the first instance of Dimension Shopping that I mentioned earlier when we were in Sand Kingdom and Goron went for Sphinx. Spending 100 coins to purchase that moon from the friendly little robot there who tells you to spend your money. Coming up to our first nut. In Wooded Kingdom there are a lot of nuts that we need to crack open to reveal those moons hiding inside, and Panther getting the cheap jump, having no trouble with it. But going for a slower strat on Rango. Goron opting to go up first, doing the red maze first, and then grabbing the checkpoint, probably going to Pipeway later on, which is another section in Wooded Kingdom that we do. So yeah, he's now grabbing the checkpoint and then going back down here. Almost not making it, but as a backup. And the movement in Pipeway can be pretty tight and not very forgiving if you mess it up, making you miss the fast cycle on the second half right here, where you can get up before the water rises back up again if you know what you're doing. But yeah, Goron taking damage, which means he's losing time from Mario just swimming in the air there for a few seconds, having the knockback animation because he took damage, and also losing an additional 2.2 seconds by having his health being refilled when you grab the moon. So we want to avoid damage at all costs in this game because it's just overall a lot of time that you can save by not taking damage. Panther having a bit of trouble catching that rabbit there, Not quite getting it. Ground pounding on top of the rabbit. Guess getting rid of some frustration before being able to grab the moon. Goron now getting to the last part of Wooded Kingdom, while Panther just purchased the third moon. Taking control of our last uproot, which I just realized didn't talk about at all. These little green onion bulbs are called uproots. And as you've already seen quite a few times, you can stretch their legs to reach higher places, and if you use the motion controls, they stretch a bit faster and a bit higher, making you be able to skip the last climb there by just going out of that alcove and getting on top of the tower. Goron now fighting against Spirit, the third brutal of the four, and we won't see the fourth one for quite a while. And just like with the other two brutals we already had, getting a hit in, jumping on top of the head afterwards when he's in his attack phase, cancels the attack phase, making you able to go back into the phase where you can damage them. Panther opting to do the pipe wave first, which is the other way around, you can do it, and then climbing up later. But bonking on the wall there, not probably making him miss fast cycle as well later on. And taking damage there, but still able to grab the moon before the water rises back down, which it does right as he grabs the moon, so cutting it tight there and going for a climb strategy up that I haven't seen so far, grabbing that checkpoint flag there for safety. And then climbing up and grabbing the uproot for the red maze. So Goron now, story-wise, trying to reach Metro City, but surprise! We have a date with Bowser on our way there. So let's see if Goron goes for the fast first capture at least of the head. I've been told that the fast captures, I'm not sure if it's the first one or only the second and third one, can soft block the game. I have yet to see that happen though, or at least on the first one. Deciding to take the safe approach though for the second and third head by standing outside of Bowser's area there and not throwing the head on the backside of the heads, but rather throwing it from the front. And by walking up close to Bowser and immediately punching him, or jumping on top of Bowser and immediately punching him while still in the air, we get to skip the phase of Bowser jumping around, generally being annoying. So that's always nice to see, to be able to fast cycle bosses. So Goron now crash landing after his fight with Bowser in Lost Kingdom. Lost Kingdom has this little tree we just saw that Goron used to jump to the second half. This tree is affectionately called the meme tree, because sometimes it just doesn't want to let you triple jump off of it, making you miss a lot of jumps, and you don't want to fall down into the purple goop there, because that means you die. And the reason why this is so important to nail the jump and be on this part of Lost Kingdom is because we want to avoid a trigger with Klepto, which is the bird which we will now manually trigger by walking up to him. Because if we trigger Klepto while being on the ground level down there, where we started, he will come in, swooping in, and steal your head. And we want to avoid that, because having Cappy taken away from you is quite detrimental to our speed. So we skip that trigger and just walk up next to Klepto when we get back to, or not back to, but when we get to the area where he's actually residing. Because that means the game thinks Klepto is in a fight, and when Klepto is in a fight, he doesn't want to steal your head, because Klepto thinks he already has it. Goron taking his last moon node there, and taking the intentional death warp back to the Odyssey. It's not faster than climbing back up if you're able to do that, but it's a lot easier, so we just take that. Panther, after having some trouble climbing up the tower, also just now finishes his fight against Speward and finishing Wooded Kingdom. So Goron now ahead by 1 Bowser fight and 1 Kingdom. This is looking pretty lopsided right now. If Goron doesn't start to mess up anything, and Panther doesn't up his game, this might already be decided, but anything can happen. Goron could just suddenly have a case of messing up his inputs and dying, or not getting the fast kill on Mecha-Wriggler, which is the boss that we are coming up here in Dark Metro, and Panther could 2-cycle him and make up some time there, so everything is still possible. Klepto being in the fight doesn't get reset if you grab the checkpoint flag unless you die, but then you spawn on the checkpoint flag, and we generally want to avoid grabbing that, because we, or most of us, do the death warp to the Odyssey back. If you do grab the checkpoint and die without grabbing the moon though, you spawn behind Klepto outside of his area where he steals the head, so you can just activate the trigger to be in a fight with him again. And not have your head taken away from you. So Panther now being on Bowser, while Goron had some pretty sweet movement in the first half of Dark Metro and now inside the City Hall, which is pretty hard to do optimally and well. But there are a ton of backup strats that are just a tiny bit slower. Opting to take them, and I can't fault them for that. Now going for the long jump. A lot of people find this jump to be very scary. Panther missing the fast cycle there for Bowser, having to chase him around. Goron now coming up to Mecha-Wriggler. Mecha-Wriggler is notorious for not being nice to runners a lot of the time. So Mecha-Wriggler has this Parados on his body that you need to shoot, and if you shoot them optimally like Goron just did, you always destroy the one you aimed at and the one to the left and right of that. So 3 pillars on top, which means optimally on the first phase You just shoot him 3 times, and all 9 parallels of his body are destroyed. Having a bit of trouble with the manipulation though, or rather, not going for it. So 2 parallels left, 1 parallel left, and Goron gets the fast cycle. You have to be careful though with your rate of fire, because the turret, as happened a few times in this fight, can overheat. That happens when you fire too fast. It also happens when you shoot and move too fast in quick succession. So Panther opting to skip the meme tree, going for the old strat up the golden cage, and doing quite an unorthodox route through Lost by going for both the cliff moon and the one in the secret cave gardening. You usually skip the one on the cliff path if you go for the cage setup. Goron throwing his head out before grabbing that moon to use the motion controls to auto-aim to go back to this electric zipper. Let's see. Oh, he's going to try for the cage clip. Let's see if he gets it. So you can clip Mario inside of this cage by using the motion controls to lean to the left and right with the scooter, and Goron gets it fairly fast. Definitely seen people struggle longer with it, but not fast enough to really prevent it being taken this way instead of doing RC car. And not quite getting the flick over to bench friends, so having to manually go there and sit down and talk to our friend on the bench. And just by talking to him, he's like, "You're so nice, here, take this meme." So Panther now finishing up with Lost Kingdom, not deciding to go for the moon underneath the bridge, skipping Death Warp instead of warping back manually to the Odyssey. While Goron is now on the second half of the moon count that we need, which are moons 11 to 20, because we need a total of 20 moons in Metro. And one question I always ask is the question of the name of this moon, because it's called "How do you take out the trash?" And I like to ask, well, how do they take out the trash? This trash can is so far up and away from the buildings. They have need someone like Mario, being a jumping artist, to just take the trash there. And grabbing the one on the pool, or above the pool, not taking a dip inside the cold water, deciding to, nah, I don't want that. Missing the ground pound though, pounding a bit too early, having to realign himself there to grab the moon that's hidden at the cafe. Let's see how Panther does on the long jump, after bonking one time there. But gets it. So, for someone with a PB of 1:29.28, Panther is actually doing really well right now. Nailing quite a few of the more difficult jumps of this game. Goron talking to Pauline, Pauline asking him to get 4 musicians for a festival that she intends to hold. Getting the first one, the drummer, with a hearty yow. Panther not opting to do the wall kicks there to climb up. Well, we're coming up to everyone's favorite moon in this speedrun, so I hope you are all ready. Oh, chap! Oh my god, did Goron really... He really did! Oh my god, in the restream, he really flashed the O-tap on the screen. That's creative, I have to say. So, Panther now coming up to Mecha Wiggler while Goron is probably on his way to Snow Kingdom because he should have enough coins to not go Seaside first. Panther having some trouble getting the quick cycle on the first phase, so not being able to go for the manipulation there of Mecha Wiggler, instead opting to just drive around. Goron now in search of one famous Toad going by the name of Captain Toad, who's hiding out here in the snowstorm and freezing. It's the only instance of Captain Toad that is left in this run, that we get a moon from him. And Panther having troubles and not getting the 2 cycle on Mecha Wiggler, so that's always sad, but it happens. It happens to the best of us. So, Goron now being in Shiveria town, where we grab the remaining 9 moons, which is also the second instance of us going into a shop and buying a moon. Walking all the way up to the counter though, you can grab this moon pretty much from the entrance, because this shopkeeper just is really talkative and talks to you all the way from the entrance already. Yes, Goron did 2 cycle the Mecha Wiggler. So let's see if he goes. He goes for the safe way through the tunnel. Just rolling down there. You can also jump over towards this moon in Shiveria. So now the main feature of this kingdom are these 4 little rooms, and every side room and minigame and everything has 2 moons in general. So there are 4 rooms that have a switch at the very end where moon spawns, and Goron having some trouble jumping into that puddle and dying. That's... I've never seen someone actually die in that ring of that purple goo. So Panther not opting for the RC car clip, rather actually going to use the RC car to grab the moon inside here. So yeah, as I said, every side room, every minigame in this game has 2 moons, and the last moon in these rooms, the not hidden moon basically, is always on one of these gold, gray, platforms. And once you collect that, one of the barriers in the main room that we will see now in a cutscene moves away, and there are 4 barriers in total. And the game basically wants you to release all 4 barriers and then drop down there and do a race where you bounce around with one of those snowmans. Whose name is I forgot. And the race basically called Bound Ball because you bounce around a lot and it takes forever, and we don't do that. In fact, we don't do a lot of the story missions in this game. Like, we did 0 story missions in the Sand Kingdom because we just say, no, like, all we want are our moons and then be on our way because we have a princess to rescue. Panther missing swinging in the air. That's sad. So having to take the back up here. Going for the not safe way again. And falling off by bouncing against that girder. Goron now on his way to the last moon. In this room we usually have our rematch against Rango. Oh, Goron, don't scare me like that. So yeah, Goron rescuing it, taking the secret moon in this room, warping back to the Odyssey, saying no to the Rango refight. Panther missing the pool jump, having to use the conveniently placed trampoline-like surface there. I actually forgot what they are called. Forget I said anything. Those are just trampolines for now. Alright. To grab the Puma, and now on his way to push through the crowd to grab this moon. Goron now on Seaside Kingdom. Seaside has some pretty tight jumps in the beginning here as well. Getting the triple jump, getting the cap dive on top of here, no problem. It's all practiced. Can be pretty tight, you can bonk there, but you know what you're doing by waiting just a split second before diving to cap you on the first cap dive. You get a bit more height for the wall kick. Getting on top of there, no problem. And Panther now on his mission for Pauline to recruit some musicians. This cave can be a bit trolly because depth perception in this game is not the best it could be. You can jump in front of the moon or behind the moon and have trouble grabbing it, but Goron gets it. Now using this flower to be fast enough to run across the water, collect all these nodes. Panther now coming up to our favorite moon, which is the second instance of OTAP. So, Goron taking that squid there, using it to dash across the water. I remember once upon a time our seaside route relied heavily on these squids to get around. Now we just grab it to get faster to a cheap and be done with them. So, and if both of our runners didn't go for Sphinx all the way back in Sand Kingdom, you would have seen these runners go to Seaside Kingdom first to grab these coins here to have enough coins to purchase the moon in Snow Kingdom, because they're just along the way anyways. and grabbing more coins in general from our boss fights. And our second instance of Dory delivering a moon to us. Our friend and helper Dory. Such a nice creature. Just giving us moons. Goron now being done with Seaside, which has the most chill music in this entire game. While Panther is actually nice enough to show us more of Captain Toad than Goron did, because Goron just made enough snow away for him to fit through and let the rest of the snow be there and not showing us Captain Toad on camera. So Goron now on his way to Luncheon Kingdom, which is a kingdom revolving entirely around food, and for most people probably their favorite kingdom in a casual playthrough. In a speedrun sense though, it has some pretty optimized movement and can be quite frustrating to get right. For instance, this cheeseless jump to the top of the salt pile over here is probably the hardest single trick jump in the game. At least for a lot of people it is. But having no trouble getting it first try, having practiced it enough times, and now going for our rematch with Speward. While Panther is having some troubles aligning himself with the umbrella. Gets it now though. To get on top of the balcony and grab the chest moon. And he's using the jump over to the other moon. This might have been a bit short though, yeah. Goron taking a lot of damage though against Speward. So losing now a total of, I think, 2.8 seconds on the health refill alone. Another thing I forgot to talk about is that every time you bonk, I mean, I guess I already touched upon it a bit somewhere, don't remember, but I didn't state it specifically that every bonk costs you, I think it was 1.8 seconds. Goron going for the fast climb by jumping on the side of the wall there to get to the other side, climbing up here, these candy mountains. Using the down throw to smash the crate, not having to use the auto aim feature or ground pounding the crate manually. And now throwing this golden turnip into the pot to get a moon out of it. There are a total of 3 golden turnips in this kingdom. We grab the first one because it's right beside the pot, throw it in, get a moon, and then be on our way. He got the salt pile moon in the very beginning, yes he did. So, now the moment of truth. There are two minigame rooms that people go to here, Fork Flicking and Lava Bubble. You go only to one of them, and Goron decides to go for Fork Flicking. So if you're a god at cap up throws, which you can do by using motion controls and auto-aiming, this room is, I think, about a second faster than Lava Bubble, Kodabu room. So Goron making quick work of this room. It's probably about the same time as he would have taken for Lava Bubble. It's not the fastest I've seen it. Going for the quick jump up there, didn't get it. Going for the backup. It's a really tight jump up that lava wall with the Kodabu. Doesn't want to work every time. So, grabbing one of those hammer bros that switched their weapons to a pan to unearth this switch underneath the cheese rocks, and these pans are not the most accurate thing in the world, so you either stand far back and use motion controls to throw as fast as you can and hope for the best, or you go up close to the cheese and make a tunnel for yourself. GoronJackson opting to do the later, just to be on the safe side, to get that moon. Getting the first cycle Kodabu as well. This one likes to troll a bit. So Panther, after finishing up Snow Kingdom, now also on Seaside, opting to not go for the triple jump, instead going to the intended way up here. Goron nailing another quite difficult jump height-wise to the behind of the Candy Mountains. Panther getting up, no problem. Bonking on the way down though. Goron now grabbing the last Grand Moon that we need to advance out of this kingdom. Panther not getting the first try. Squidless jump up towards the upper path of the cave. Also not getting the moon first try. He's not going for the wall kick though to get it on the way back. Now he does and gets it, alright. So Goron about 1 luncheon and 2/3 of a seaside ahead of PantherSpeedruns. The triple jump gives you a tad bit more height, Fanamir, but in most cases it's not enough to warrant doing it instead of the ground pound jump. So, Goron trying to go to Bowser's Kingdom, but on his way there, gets another date with Bowser, but we're not fighting against Bowser this time. Instead, he uses one of his minions to blast us out of the sky yet again, and send us towards Dark Souls, the kingdom, which is Ruin Kingdom, and making us fight against said minion, the Lord of Thunder, which is a giant dragon. And I know that at least I, for one, wish that Ruin Kingdom was bigger and had more to do than it actually has in this game. So the giant dragon boss, the Lord of Thunder, is basically an auto-scroller. We can do little to make it go faster. One way of making it go faster is not taking as much damage as Goron did and damage boosting up to the head of the dragon, or jumping on top of the head of the dragon the very moment it stops glowing, so we can pull out those pins faster, but otherwise not much time saved to be had here. Guess just one cycling every phase. And I apologize if my voice is cracking. Yeah, too bad they ruined for us. So Panther now coming up to potentially the hardest jump in this game. Let's see how he fares. Not good on the first try. Cappy flew out a bit too far. But he gets it second try. Ooh, not getting the long jump. Dropping into the purple goo, that's not lava, but something. While Goron is now in Bowser's Kingdom, which is styled after an Edo period Japanese castle. Because no one knows why, but we can guess that Bowser likes Edo period Japan, apparently. Ooh, this might be close. Can Goron get the auto aim to the Pokio? He can, alright. It's a moon that has only been routed in recently, I think around mid-December-ish, into the route of almost everyone. We use the motion controls to have Cappy recapture the Pokio after jumping down to that moon behind the wall there. And Panther bonking on the door to the bonus room that we just go in to collect this moon behind the corner and then go out again because the shards are too long, take forever to collect, and we wanna go fast. So Bowser's Kingdom is probably the longest kingdom in the run, because we need to do all of the story missions in order for Bowser to move on to the last kingdom of the game. So Goron taking some damage, having some trouble here. Let's hope he doesn't die, because dying takes forever. But grabs the immune and gets now his much needed health refill. No, the glory hole has been routed out. We are not going for the hole in the wall anymore if we use the updated route. We instead go for behind the wall and on top of the wall. So, Goron now coming up to the rematches, or the matches, the one rematch against Topper and the first match against Harriet, which is the last of the Brutal. And Panther opting to also go for Fork Flicking Room instead of Potable Room. So, Goron making very quick work of Topper, having no problems with him. And now fighting against Harriet, our only encounter against her in the any person run. Or normally the first encounter you have with Harriet would be in Sand Kingdom, but that would require us to do story missions or do a clip that's not time saving at all, so we don't do it. Panther apparently not going for the moon on top of that one mountain there. Instead opting to go straight for the moon in here, in underneath the cheese rocks with the switch. Goron now coming up on the last climb in Bowser's castle, climbing up the last towers, while Panther having some trouble with the Podoboo, not getting it first cycle, having to wait 2 or 3 seconds for the second one to, or for the second cycle to actually make it. And also going into the lava bubble room, so I guess Panther skips both the mountains of the later half of Luncheon to do both minigame rooms. Having some trouble getting over Alright, Goron now fighting against the Mecha Brutal, going for the birdless climb, not nailing it the first try, going for a second attempt at climbing up here, gets it second try though. Let's see if we can make it back on top. This is looking good so far. Alright, we are back on top. Second Brutal down. Can we make it back? We can. Getting the faster on the third Brutal. This might be a tad low, but we make it. Alright. Goron with a very quick kill of the Mecha Brutal is now done with Bowser's, while Panther just finishes up Luncheon Kingdom. So, well, both of our runners are now on their way to their next respective kingdoms. I've already said that this game is very movement heavy and has quite a few trick jumps, but coming up in Moon Kingdom is one of the earliest found trick jumps. I think it was found on the release day already. It saves the most amount of time, actually. It saves an entire section in Moon Kingdom that would usually take about 4 minutes if you're good at it. And had a boss fight at the very end of it that we also don't do because we skip that, which is the Moon Cave. And the jump is kind of wonky on a technical standpoint side because it requires you to do 2 wall kicks, but the walls are not parallel to one another. It only works because we have moon physics on the moon. And nobody is sure really why it works. We guess it has something to do with the wall kicks being so far out of, like, away from each other that the game just thinks you're actually not trying to do a second wall kick off of the first wall, it's kind of wonky because you see here we use these swings to ground pound, throw out Cappy, bounce on Cappy, go to this section on the wall where Goron went, and depending on where you land, we wall kick up from that, go to the left, and for some reason can wall kick from there again, which we shouldn't be able to do. What we are able to do. Goron having some trouble setting the jump up though, failing it 2 times now, giving Panther just a bit of time to catch up. But this is looking good now, yeah. Alright, he gets it. So, Panther being done with the auto-scroller boss and Goron now coming up to the final boss of the game, which is our rematch with Bowser. Let's see. The first fast cycle can be a bit tricky to get, but this is looking good. Goron got it. So, the difference between this fight and the fight in Cloud Kingdom basically boils down to fire. A lot more fire. And he also has this phase in between hits where he just stands and breathes fire at you. So yeah, the difference is fire. A lot of fire. For Moonskip to be slower than the intended route, you would need to fail it for 4 minutes. So as long as you're not slower than 4 minutes, everything is good. Because Moon Cave takes about 4 minutes. So Goron now on his final hit against Bowser, while Panther just collected the first Story Moon in Bowser's Kingdom. Let's see if we can get the fast cycle this time. Yeah, we do. So Bowser only gets to hop around once on Goron's side. He already hopped around on Panther's side in Cloud Kingdom. Which means we are now at the final part of the game, which is the escape sequence. And in the escape sequence there is one more jump that basically shows if a runner is trusting in their handiwork or not. If they don't trust their own skill, most people don't opt to go for the 2D section. Not really a skip, but rather shortcut. Goron is now coming up to it, so let's see if he does that. You can save a whole lot of 1 second if you nail it. But if you fail it, you die and lose a lot more time. And Goron goes for it and gets it. Second jump only on the second try, but better than falling down. So Panther now collecting the third story moon, or rather the second story moon. And the final part. So usually we use Bowser here to throw fireballs at the pillars. The first to the one on the right to already damage it a bit, and then smash the other pillars, preferably before arriving there, or at least on this one, preferably before arriving there and having to manually hit it. To make them smash down on the cube in the middle. So we already damaged the one on this side just a bit. The camera likes to be a bit wonky on the final part there, after you smash the last pillar. And Goron, now being done with his run of the game, with an official SRL time of 1 hour 12 minutes and 55 seconds, which probably means that he's not using life split for his timing. While Panther is on his match against Harriet. Yeah, that was her name, Harriet, in Bowser's Kingdom. Having some trouble getting her landing on top. I guess he doesn't know that she stops running around if you throw your head at her if she runs. So now on the fight against Topper, and as you can see, if you don't get the quick cycle by jumping on top of Topper's head where he's hiding, he likes to take a lot of your time and just roll around. And Panther has to be careful, he only has 1 health left. And these heads can every time just bonk into you, because they like to do that. Again, down to 1 health. Having to be careful here, opting to just knock all the heads down from Topper instead of jumping on top of his back. So now Panther also on the last climb of Bowser's Castle on his way to the Mecha Brutal. Missing the triple jump, or rather the cap dive after the triple jump, by going a bit far. Getting it in the third attempt though. Alright, now on the last two walls that we climbed with Pokio by flicking off there. Having some trouble staying up though. Taking the safety checkpoint. And now entering the fight against the Mecha Brutal. So let's see if he goes for fast threats, either Pokio fast threats or Pokeolus, but he's grabbing the Pokio, so let's see if he goes for the fast threats. And while we are watching that, we are getting visited by our race winner, GoronJackson. So, Goron, congratulations on your win. Goron?
How's it going? Thank you.
Hey. So, how does it feel to...
I'm having a hard time hearing. Hold on.
So, Panther having some trouble staying on top of the Mecha Brutal.
Okay, can I hear you now?
Hello? Can you hear me now? I don't know.
I don't know if I'll be able to interview.
That's
Hello?
sad. Can you hear me now? I don't know.
I don't know if I'll be able to interview.
That's sad. You have some echoes there. So Panther just taking his time, going for the intended way to fight this boss, I guess you could say. Again, having trouble to stay up on top of the Mecha Brutal.
Alright, I think I'm better.
Are you? Can you hear me now? Doesn't look like it. At least I'm not getting an answer.
No? Okay.
So Panther, after struggling a lot with Mecha Brutal, finally being done with that and also finally on his way. So Panther, after struggling to do the last kingdom of the game, the Moon Kingdom. So let's see if he knows about the Moon Cave skip, if he gets it faster than Goron did. While on Goron's screen we get to see a bit of the post-game world, Peach's Castle, Mushroom Kingdom, fooling around a bit. So Panther opting to go for only one of the two flowers here. Jumping over, but he is on his way to the Sphinx, so he at least knows about it. Let's see how he fares with this skip. If he will get it faster than Goron did. That might have been a bit early on the head throw there. Yep. Let's see how he does in the second try. Not getting the bounce off Cappy. Moving forward a bit too fast. This might have been a bit early as well on the cap throw. So the problem he's having right now is he's not throwing out Cappy at the apex of his first jump. He's throwing Cappy just a tad too early. Realizing himself that this was not going to work and cancelling the attempt early. Yeah. He needs to wait just a tad bit more on throwing out Cappy there. Most people opt to throw Cappy the moment they start going down from their apex, so you're still on basically max height. He's not realizing what his mistake is though. So we could be stuck here for quite a while. Either that or he opts to go to Moon Cave at some point. Too early, too close to the wall. Too far to the right. Also, I'm not sure if he threw Cappy late enough. Threw Cappy again, too early. Panther again kicking up too far to the right. Alright, chat. I need you all to give Panther some energy so he can get this Mooncave skip. It's got to be quite frustrating at this point. There we go. Finally got it. And this just gotta be such a relieving feeling to finally nail that jump that you failed for so many times. So Panther now on his Bowser fight, missing the first cycle skip, having Bowser jump around. And as I said earlier on Goron's fight, the main difference between this and Cloud Kingdom is a lot of fire. Starting with phase 2, everything has fire. Like in phase 1, everything except for the balls are already on fire. Like his tail is on fire when he's spinning around to hit you. And if you miss a cycle of his jump phase in the second or third phase, the balls he's throwing at you are also on fire, meaning you can't just throw out Cappy to destroy them. So nailing those skips is important to save a bit of time. That was a bit close, so Bowser got to take his head back, so we're in for another round of him throwing the head around and missing the second jump skip as well. And there are the balls that are burning that you just can't destroy with Bowser's head. But there we go. That is the last hit. So now Panther also on the last part of the game, the escape sequence. Not throwing any fireballs here on to the first wall. Also not opting to do the triple jump, realizing that he was already jumping a bit too much at the beginning there. Also not opting to go for the 2D skip. Probably not practiced in it. And again, not throwing fireballs. I'm not sure if he knows how to throw the fireballs. He does know how to throw fireballs, but he's going for the right side first, missing a lot of those fireballs. Not all of them, but a lot still. And now up to the last pillar to finish up his own run of this game. Being careful not to fall off, because falling off here would be quite devastating, taking him back all the way to the beginning of the escape. And there we have it, GG. PantherSpeedruns finishes with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 33 minutes and 18 seconds. There we have it, Panther. GG. Congrats on finishing that run.
Thank you.
So, I have a few questions for you, as any good interviewer would have. The first being right at the very end, you didn't throw any fireballs on the walls in the escape segment of the final part there. Why is that? Did you forget you could do that, or?
As you can see, I'm not very good at throwing the fireballs, so I just decided that mashing Y would be quicker.
Alright, but, you know, nobody fell perfect from the heavens up above. We all have to start somewhere, so keep practicing at that and you will nail those aim shot sooner or later.
Lost motivation after Moonstep too, because I was on PB pace, and then with that awful Moonstep, I stopped really caring about the run.
And there's another part. I noticed that you, I don't know if it was you getting antsy or something, but you threw Cappy way too early on your Moonskips there. You didn't throw Cappy on the apex of your jump, which is what caused you to lose height and not being able to do the second wall kick.
Mm-hmm.
You also had some troubles against the Mecha Wriggler.
Yeah, I did get 3 cycle, but I've only 2 cycled him like 3 times. I only started, I did my first run ago, and that was a 155. So, I mean, I'm just still a beginner here. Gotten it down to 129 is still pretty shocking for me, so.
I mean, for someone who has, as you just said, not run the game that much, it's still a pretty impressive race. Like, a 133 is not a bad time at all. Especially not on what your probably 3rd, 4th run of the game.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, that's still pretty impressive. Like, it's just a matter of keeping at it now. I mean, you also had some parts where you were actually better than Goron, because Goron had some trouble in snow, for example, and died in the room with the Typhus.
Yeah. Strats, but I'm getting pretty consistent at them. Runs to start with, but a 131.48 is definitely not a bad no reset time.
Definitely. especially if you're not as practiced as your opponent was.
Yeah.
You also nailed some of these of the harder jumps pretty consistently and pretty early on. Like I noticed you had Cheeseless in Luncheon was second try, I guess, if I remember correctly, and the jump in Metro Darkside was first try. The one up the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you also got the long jump afterwards. So those are pretty impressive things to do for someone who hasn't run this game that much.
Yeah, definitely.
So you definitely gave it your all. And this was, if I remember correctly, your first race of this tournament, right?
Yes.
So that means you still have 2 more races to go.
Yep.
So I wish you the best of luck for those.
Thank you.
I hope you get to get your time a bit lower and just keep practicing this, all I can say.
Yeah, that run should have been a PB. Like I said, I messed it up on Moon Step, but other than that,
so yeah, there you have it, folks. If you want to follow our runners, you can do that with these channels that are in the chat right now. They work hard for your entertainment, and I encourage you to follow all of them. If you missed any of our previous tournament races, you can watch them on the YouTube channel of Speed Gaming. They are getting uploaded as we go.
yep.
And that's it from me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for letting me commentate.